Hey, future people, Major Socks here from Getting Tabled. Like I said on the podcast this last week, I've got the starter set for the Spanish Armada for Black Seas as a preview, so I'll be doing that unboxing right here. Alright, so like I said, I've had Black Seas Master and Commander set for a few years now. One of the guys that I played Dystopian Wars with my local store, he started getting into Black Seas as well. And so he has the Royal Navy starter set as well as Master and Commander. And so I figured I'd pick up the Spanish Navy fleet, and that way we can have a little bit larger games and whatnot. So here's the box. On the back here, it kind of shows you what you get. You get a first rate, you get 3 third rates, you get 3 frigates that are 5th rates, 6 brigs, and a gunboat squadron, and then all your tokens, cards, the sails, the flags, and all that. And I'll show you that as we go through. Like I said, these are the 5th rate frigates here. So you got your 2 holes, the various back sterns that you can do, the decking. I really like the decking here. It shows all the cannons and stuff like that. And then you've got the various masts and figureheads that you can choose. You got a unicorn figurehead. Looks like a soldier of some sort because you've got a shield and some rowboats that you can put on as various decorations, some anchors as well. So like I said, got 3 of those to put together. So I'm looking forward to putting those together. Right here are the brig sprues. Again, like I said, you got 6 of these. So you got 2 brigs that you can put together with these. You've got all your masts, your couple of anchors, your bowsprits. And then again, the decking is just amazing. The amount of detail they put on this. Warlord Games does a really good job with their plastic modeling, just how detailed all these ships are. And then these are the 3rd rates. I've got 3 of these sprues. So really nice sprues here. All the anchors, the deck, or the poop deck part of the deck. You got your main deck, and then you got the little poop deck up here as well that will go on this top part of the deck. And various figureheads, mermaids and other soldiers and decorations and stuff like that. That one's got a little bend, so I'll have to fix that mast. That's kind of the unfortunate part about this, as well as just the way they're stacked on top of each other. Sometimes they get bent up a little bit, but nothing too serious. We're trying to get that fixed a little bit, just a little bend on that. Inside this bag, as we know, thank you to Anne who put this bag together. This is the gunboat squadron base. A little bit of flashing I'll have to get rid of because this is one solid piece of resin. So 3 little gunboats. Oh, sorry, Anna is the one that packed that up for me. But then I've got some stern sections. So here's the masts for pick up all these little metal filings before I get them all over my kitchen table and my wife yells at me later on. But these are all the mast sections that will go with the gunboat sections. While I like the metal or the plastic of that Warlord does, I'm not too fond of the metal. You'll see that here in a minute, especially when I start pulling out the next one. So with these sterns, not only do I have these generic sterns that I have with the 3rd rates, I have 3 named ships: the Montanez, San Juan, Nempico, and the Neptuno. And their figureheads that go along with those ships. And so I'll probably put these on here as in place of their normal sterns and figureheads. And then the same thing with the frigates, the 5th rates. I've got their sterns, the Ceres, the Nympha, and the Diana, and again their figureheads for the frigates. And so I'll probably put those as well. That way I can have some named ships. So here's the first rate. It's a solid piece of resin, which I do like. I mean, it's just incredibly detailed. The amount of guns you have on there, the decking, the figureheads, placements. This is a generic first rate. You can buy named first rates in separate kits. You can get the Lars Santisima Trinidad, which is the largest gun first rate that you can get in the game. It was 144 gun ship of the line. And so I plan on getting that in the future. But this is why I'm not too fond of Warlord Games still doing metal. I understand why, because it's cheaper to do so. But when it comes time to masts, these masts are very, very thin and can be bent very, very easily. So that one's not too bad, but this one I can already tell. You can kind of see there, it's gonna, if I can hold it up to the camera, you kind of see that you have this little S-bend a little bit. So it's gonna take a little bit to bend this back into shape. While you'll see some thread that I can do. So after you put all the masts and the sails on, I'll show you the sails here in a minute. You can actually do some thread rigging that can kind of help strengthen the masts a little bit. But I mean, here's the bowsprit that's supposed to go straight out the front, and as you can see there's a lot of bending that has happened with this. Whereas resin, I think if Warlord were to convert these to resin, it wouldn't be as bad, because then you could just do some heat molding or some heat bending, some hot flashing kind of repair work, and then they stay tight and set where they are. But again, I understand why they do the metal, because of it's just a little bit cheaper. But it's just a pain sometimes, because you don't want to bend these too much back and forth, because that's one of a mast as well. That's not the bowsprit. The bowsprit's right here. But that mast right there is going to be kind of a challenge to try and straighten out without potentially breaking off. So I'll do what I can, and we'll go from there. And then inside this little bag, you've got your various cards. So you've got the acetate rat lines, they're called. This is for this first rate. So these are all the nets that the crew members would climb up and down up the masts, so they could put down the sails. This is printed off by packaged by Ronnie. And then you got your various ship stat cards, double-sided, the same ship stats. So this is your ship of the line. If you haven't seen these, you've got the number of hull points, the number of hit points, damage points. When it reaches that point, it can potentially strike its colors and surrender, and then how many movements of inches it can move each turn, and then your various cannons that you have, and the turning radius that you have, and the type of the size. So this is an extra large ship, whereas you got your third rates are large, and then you got fifth rates are considered mediums, and then you got your brigs. And so I have a card for each of the ships that I have. That way I can play with the full fleet. This is the wake markers that go along with the level of sails that you have, and then your damage markers that will go on the sliders. So I've got the first rate, I've got the 3 third rates, I've got the 3 fifth rate frigates, and then I've got the 6 brigs, and then all the rat lines for the third rates and fifth rates and the brigs are all there. And then I've got the instructions. Put those all. So here's the instructions for the first rate. So just the various figureheads that you can figureheads that you can have and whatnot. And then where to put some of the other details, the anchors, the rowboats, that kind of stuff. And then again, the instructions for the frigates, the 5th rates, instructions for the 3rd rates. The brigs are pretty easy. They are on the back side. So the instructions for the brigs are on the back side of the frigates, the 5th rates. And that just kind of goes your overview for your sprue for your 3rd rates. Here are all the Spanish flags that you can have. So you got the various brigs, the 3rd rates, the frigates, the 5th rates, and then your 1st rate flags. This would be the flag that would go on the back. And then you have the huge long one that would go on the top of the middle of the sail. All these little flags down here can be used. So when you're playing the game, it's going to be kind of hard to differentiate 6 different brigs or 3 frigates or 3 3rd rates if they're not named, for example, and your cards aren't identified somehow. So they have these little flags that you can put on the rigging. And then in the Master and Commander set, they actually come out with little tokens that correspond to these so that you can then add these to the rigging of your ships, but then you can have the little tokens on your stat cards, so you can kind of identify which ship is which based on the battlefield and your stat card. And so I think it's a cool idea that they have built out. And then you have your various sails. So you got your, which ones are these? These are the 1st rate sails. These are probably the 3rd rates. So the 3 sets of 3rd rates. And you can do them kind of a darker. Sometimes you'll see darker setups. And then here's all your brigs and your 5th rates and all their sails and whatnot. So a lot of stuff to put together and assemble. But then the cool thing is in every set that I've had so far, it comes with a little spool of black thread, so you can do all the rigging wires and rope with the ships as they go. You can kind of see them right here. So this is kind of what I was talking about. If I'm not seeing any of the little designation flags on here. But so for example, you could put one of those little colored flags on these part of the riggings that you have right here. It's kind of maybe hard to see on the camera itself. Oh, there's one actually right there on that brig. If you can see it on that camera, you can kind of see it sitting out there. So I kind of help designate it. So I'm looking forward to putting these together. I'll show some photos as I put these together and start painting them up. Painting may be a little challenging as in the next 6-7 months I'm getting ready to move, so I don't want to get too heavily involved with stuff. Because as most of you know, I'm in the military, I'm in the Air Force, and I'll be getting ready to move here in the next couple months, in about 6-7 months from now. But depending on where I go, I may have to ship all of my stuff in 2 or 3 months, so we can get there in time, especially if I go overseas. So that's the challenging thing. So I'll primarily put this together, maybe start getting stuff primed, and then depending on where I go, when I find out in a couple months, maybe finish these off a little bit later. But again, looking forward to putting these on the table. I'm getting a game in with some of my friends at the game store on Saturday as well as next week. And so I'll let you guys know how that goes in the next podcast. But thanks for supporting us. Again, and GT2305 is a code that you can use at valhallahobby.com. They're one of our sponsors, so appreciate their support for us. And take care and have fun.
You've made it through to the end of another video. Your next mission is to hit subscribe and comment down below. If you'd like to reach out to the team, consider doing that, gettingtabled@gmail.com. Consider subscribing to our Patreon. For only $2 a month, you get early access to almost every single video that we do. Our most active social media is facebook.com/gettingtabled. It's where you'll find everything first. There's also a Discord. There's an invite on screen right now. If you type that in, it'll give you instant access. If you're on Twitter or Instagram, you can find us at gettingtabled. It's not the most active, but it's something we're trying to use more all the time. come and check out Jason the Bruce at Twitch. He does both video game and hobby content. And of course, without question, play more.